All right.
Out.
For
Mena.
That's it.
redirecting to
To
YouTube.
live stream the meeting.
Oh goodness. Right.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
My face is the thumbnail. Oh my god.
And you know what? Let's just open the gates.
Open the gates.
All right. People waiting.
How many Arns today? All right, how many cameras do you have? Just two?
Just two.
Yeah, today the experiment is with 2 and 1 camera.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on a waiting list for.
Yeah, I don't hold your breath. You're
Well,
not gonna be
Pedro,
allowed in.
perhaps in the same time
They'll
you
check
would
you
like to
first.
make me co-host. Just for today.
You're not close now. Oh yeah, of course, because you. Goodness.
So
Where are you now?
don't let Mark in.
And I'm going to write something to you in our WhatsApp.
Here you are, co-host.
So hello everyone. Familiar people and some no, actually I think.
Hi Jenny.
Hi Jenny.
Emiel, nee zeg man, wat heb je nou weer gedaan?
Hey Emil. Your face mask is on the wrong way.
Ja, ik kan het niet meer afzetten. I can't put it off. I can't. So I have to look at it. But don't bother. I will kill my video.
No,
so you
don't.
No, it's awesome.
No. I want to have one of those.
Pedro, can you look in the WhatsApp and answer me, please?
So
Emil,
this is
show your
we are
face.
in the so again it's a wonderful messy start of a very structured Wednesday web jam. For everyone who's new to Wednesday web jam, I'm sorry. We're so sorry. I just heard, so just to kind of give you an idea, I just spoke this afternoon to 2 people who were once guests at the web jam. And one of them said, I had no idea what was going on like the whole time. I thought it was going to be something about design or something, and I had no clue what was going on. So, but anyway, she sticked around, and so she finally found out. Anyway, this is the decompression zone. You are in a decompression zone. We're waiting for the official start of this amazing show hosted by Union and with our special guest, Maarten Jurriaanse. It's going to be awesome. Best show ever. I can feel it. Michael sent me, yeah.
I don't
Specifically because
feel
I
anything anymore.
No, did you bring your toilet roll? If you didn't bring a toilet roll, you need to go get one. And we know you're home. You know you have a huge supply of them somewhere in the shed or in your attic, trying to kind of pretend that you were not one of those people. But we know you were, so get your toilet roll. You have extras. You will need it. And we don't know why. Only Maarten knows why. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I hope Union knows why. I don't know why.
No clue.
Oh, you also
There's
don't know
so
why. Okay,
much
nobody
no.
knows why, but we are sheep like we are. We brought our toilet roll. And you basically can ask us anything. We'll say, oh, all right. So we got it. Okay. So welcome to the Wednesday Web Jam.
One last minute. sheet is back. Okay. Let me see. I'm looking for another friend, and her name is Mavi. Let's see whether she's in. If she's in, we can start. Where is she? Hello, Jessie. Hello, Monica. Hello, Ilonka again. Ha, Michael and Gerald from Singapore. Hi, Pak. Wait a little bit longer. Good to see you all. Emil, where's your face now?
Where's your face?
By the way, Pedro, may I introduce you to Emil, who wrote you that lovely, lovely email.
Indeed. Nice to see you in person, let's say.
Frankie is coming in as well.
Yeah, there you
Thank you very much for having me.
Nice to meet you, Emil.
Thank you for being here.
So for those of you who came before to one of these Wednesday web jams, you know what you'll be expecting. For the newcomers, it's all about innovation and creativity and building a nice community around it.
Okay. Shall we start then? Oh, Donna is coming in. As soon as she's in, we're going to start. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome those who are here for the first time. Where are you exactly? You are at Wednesday Web Jam, an experimental learning platform for the clumsy innovators, for the compassionate facilitators, cheeky co-creators, and ignorant experimentalists, all hungry learners and change makers. So perhaps today you will find answers, but perhaps today you find questions, and we like that because you will help us move forward. Our philosophy is failing forward. There is just no other way. So share your thoughts today, your dreams, your laughters and your tears. And for you, special people, of course, we have special requests. We wanted you to bring paper and a pen, and don't forget the roll. Right, we are going to start in a few seconds. Do decide how you want to be seen or heard on YouTube. There will be recording and also in the breakout room. So the guest of today is Maarten Jurriaanse. And who is he? Well, he is the founder of Ping Pong Design. He's a design consultant working for large corporations, for example, Tommy Hilfiger. And he is a lecturer at this moment at the Hague University of Applied Sciences. And he told me this story from his student time when he was studying with the Academy of Arts, that he has been wondering, imagination, could you measure this? Would you measure this? How would you do that then? And should you measure this? This question he has been carrying with him along many, many years, and we feel honored he is going to share with us. Pedro, you're disturbing my introduction. Maarten, please quickly take the floor.
Quickly, also quickly. Okay, let me try to do that. Thanks for joining us. So if you are looking for answers, is everybody seeing the screen? Must be, because actually, oh yeah, good. That's always weird when you do Zooms, you never know really. For those who hope to get some answers, please leave, because there are no answers. There are probably a lot of questions, even more questions. So just so you know, don't have too many high expectations. But and I also notice now that I realize with the kind of the group of people that is here is that I'm preaching for the same church. So maybe I should bring this to kind of executive people that are actually not thinking in this way. But of course, but my question is a little bit, so how often do we still play cowboys and princesses at work? And I mean really not kind of the work most of you do, creative work, but really kind of the boring work that happens and goes along in kind of the corporate setting. So that is really what keeps me busy. Yeah, we used to be able to do this very easily when we were small, and then actually we kind of got lost and really don't do these kind of things anymore. So that's my question. But of course, at the moment, and this is really a hot topic, and also design and creativity is really on the top of everybody's list. And Mr. Kaufman, he's setting up an institute which is called the Imagination Institute, is actually trying to figure out, how can we measure imagination? So this is also what triggered me. And he says, okay, businesses want really possibility thinkers on their teams. The problem is a little bit that they are really hard to find. And of course, we see that in all the rankings, kind of creative thinking is really getting higher up in the list, and complex problem solving and creativity, that those are kind of the things that businesses are looking for. And I'm not sure if they really apply it, but they're actually looking for this. So this is really what's going on at the moment. And but of course, in general speaking, there are kind of different ways to solve complex problems. And what we use mostly, and especially in the kind of the corporate setting, and also how we are educated in school, is we are focusing on the deductive part. So deductive problem solving. But of course, there's another way of solving problem, which is much more focused on the imaginative. But we tend not to really use that a lot. And then, of course, deductive reasoning or deductive problem solving is really rules-based. But if you move into imaginative ways of solving problems, then it's really creating new rules, because actually if you cannot solve a complex problem, or that is a completely new problem, with rules that are based on known settings. So rules-based really applies logic to analyze familiar problems and then do it in the correct way. This is also how we learn this in school. But when you go to try to figure out a new problem, then actually you need to improvise, and because actually improvising is the only way to figure out an unfamiliar problem. But then deductive thinking really requires our kind of executive brain, which is much more here, and which is called the executive intention network. And then the problem with a little bit too, because there's this vast network, which we call the default mode network, which is actually what we use when we're dreaming, or when we're taking a stroll, or when we're doing the dishes or taking a shower. That's actually the default mode network. But that really is a great network, and it's perfect to use for coming up with new ideas. But it usually works most when our brains are not occupied. So if we're unfocused, then actually it works. So how to get to that? So then there's this guy, Leonard Mlodinow. He written this book, Elastic Thinking, which I think really is something you should read. And he really says, okay, we need this capability and bring this much more to the forefront. And so how can we kind of tap into our capability to venture into the unknown, and to combine new concepts and generate new options? We have these capabilities actually. So this is also, we've been rewarded through evolution by being able to explore and come up with new ideas. I mean, that is what makes you a hero in a way. So challenge ingrained assumptions and manage experiments and accept failures. First of all, if you want to discover something new, you will enter and encounter a lot of failures. This is also what the whole WebJam is about. But the problem is that, usually when we're looking for solutions, our minds are really using kind of our executive brain. And to get to new ideas, you need to find a way to relax your mind. And that's not so easy. It's easy said, but it's not so easy to do, especially not if you're under pressure. In general, the default mode network really kicks into action when we're really not paying attention, when we're kind of dreaming or sleeping. And there's a reason for it. We use this kind of capability to consolidate kind of all our experiences, our emotions and stuff like that. And the brain uses that to, prepare us possible future needs. So that kind of, it stores those inputs and tries to help us think ahead. So your brain is actually always thinking ahead, even when you're not. So the associative process of elastic thinking, it needs kind of this unfocused state. So when we're really focused, then it's difficult. So that is really what the message of the elastic thinking. So how can you do this? Well, of course, there are all these ways, and for you, most of you, this is all, you know, familiar, probably. It looks familiar, and there are all these elements, beginner's mind, and, you know, really challenging beliefs, and you know, manage paradoxes, use different perspectives, and really try to, you know, move beyond categories that you know. But actually, the biggest and the most important element is, you know, aim for high numbers, quantity. And even, you know, to get to quantity, you need actually to accept the fact that most of them are really bad and sometimes also very ugly. So really, that is a given. The problem is a little bit that when I started in art school, so I started, that's ages ago, I was 17 years old, and I went to art school in Rotterdam, and I came into the school where, you know, thinking, okay, now I'm going to be the perfect artist. I know how to perfect things. And this is actually the moment where I learned, or where I really kind of got frustrated about the whole idea of, you know, high numbers and quantity. And we had this specific teacher, and I tried to reach out to him to get him into this jam, but he didn't really react to my messages. So that's probably also says something about my relation to him. Maybe, well, I don't know. I have to ask him. But there was this strange teacher, and there's only a few teachers that I remember, but he was the one that really struck my mind. Also because, and that's always, the best teachers are always the ones that have a lot of rumors around them. So the rumor about this man was that he would live in a closet somewhere in the attic, so high above in this building, and he would kind of sleep there. And we were not really sure if he would sleep there every day, but, you know, he would be kind of always in that attic. And so this was Mr. Gonda, and he still lives. So I found this on Facebook. He would also eat carrots really loudly, so really during the day. So that was also, you knew it when he was near you, because you could hear that by the sound of his eating carrots. And of course, sleeping in the school closets. So that was a very mysterious man. And actually he had, so this is where I really learned to kind of, you know, manage quantity. He would give this assignment, and then he would tell you, like, okay, tomorrow, bring me 20 A-size self-portraits and draw them, you know, really these huge sized portraits. And so you would work on that. And of course, you know, you were like, I'm in art school. I'm going to break the rules. So I'm not going to make 20, I'll make 5. And then you would come in and he would say, okay, he wouldn't even look at them. He would just start counting and say, okay, that's 5. So, well, bring me 34 or 35 this afternoon. And if you're not, well, then you just forget it, you know. And of course, I was nice, so I said, okay, I'll work on that. And I was sweating and, you know, terrible, because, you know, after 5 or 6, you don't really know, it's gone, you know. You're just empty. So, but I struggled through, and I made the most crappiest things. But also something struck me, that after 5 or 6, you stop thinking. Really, you stop really trying, and actually, that's where the moments, you know, this is where you relax your mind, and then something happens. And then, of course, he would come back, and the first thing, again, I would count it, and then he would say, okay, you know, great, but so tomorrow bring me 20 more. So you were like, oh, I've made it. And then like, oh God, not 20 more, you know. So, but it was just his way of, you know, teaching me something about quantity. And so I thought that was a nice anecdote, just to prepare you to get you to work, because this is also the point of this moment. I want you to do the thing. So let's try this. And you all brought your nice rolls, and I don't know why. I mean, you know, because my question is actually, this is not a toilet roll. So I want you to come up with, you know, functions or solutions or anything. So come up with 20 new purposes or functions for this thing. And it's not a toilet roll. And so what else could it be? And then I want you to try to write it down. So to keep a track of, you know, the amount of ideas, because I'm going to count, we will count it. You can write it down in words or sketches or whatever you feel comfortable with. And you have 4 minutes. I will do this all together, but we'll do it in silence. And maybe I'll hum a little bit. That can be nice.
Can we start? Yeah.
Yes, let's start.
Yoo-hoo!
Do please hum some.
Oh, should I hum?
Well, some toilet song. That's not humming. That's a didgeridoo.
Oh, okay.
You just discovered a new function. Sorry, go ahead.
One.
Yeah. Okay. So now I can make a different. Oh no, maybe not the farting sound. That's a bit weird with that. Okay. That's too happy, eh? It should be a little bit more depressed, maybe.
No.
Oh no.
We can
Oh,
whisper to each other, Maarten.
Oh yeah.
We can whisper to each other or
Yes.
have a small chat. Yeah.
You're distracting me. My brain is.
Yeah, we're distracting everybody. Shut up.
That was a cutest laughter, Dunyan.
Can someone mute Union?
Hello.
I'm curious when everybody starts sweating. What are you doing? You're messing up the roll.
Right now.
Are you checking the time, Union? Oh, awesome.
Checking the time.
It's really long. 4 minutes, crazy. It's too long.
It's okay.
Yeah.
They should have about 10 ideas by now.
Write down your stuff, Peter.
20. By the way, if you want to make more than 20 ideas, that's fine too, huh? Easy.
It's a good luck.
My head is pointy. It doesn't work. So, everybody's sweating already?
"30 seconds.
Oh, that's a very sweet way of saying you're finished. Okay, so I'm a little bit curious how that went. So now, of course, I'm very curious. So, how much of you entered kind of, felt this kind of barrier at some point? You hit a brick wall, and you're like, okay, this is what my experience is, and somehow you have to kind of get through that. And actually, this is also what they call in sports, they call this runner's high. So can you find that moment where you kind of get stuck and then keep at it, and actually then, you know, somehow when your brain gets also a little bit exhausted, especially your executive function, there are a few ways to exhaust them, also to do a lot of, you know, a lot of executive tasks, and then actually the brain gets so tired that it kind of keeps open the door, so it becomes a little bit more easy to come up with new ideas. So, and this is what they call kind of the conscious gatekeeper. There is this kind of little, the executive function that kind of keeps the door, and actually only wants to filter out, you know, the most obvious ideas, because, you know, silly ideas, you know, they can be good, but sometimes they can also be awkward. So it also really wants to protect you. So if you kind of have a inclination to say, hey, there's a nice French fry on someone else's table, then kind of the executive brain says, maybe that's a bit awkward to pick out the French fry from someone's table, so let's not do that. So it has a function, but if you want to come up with a lot of ideas, then that kind of is, that door is a little bit difficult, and that gatekeeper can kind of keep you back. So there are a few ways to kind of hack that those inhibitions, and alcohol usually works pretty well. You know, there are a lot of artists who use that, and drugs also works very well. There's even a kind of a trick how to kind of break through that, which they call transcranial stimulation. It's just like a huge magnet, and they hold it in front of your cortex, and then actually that has produced fantastic results, you know, solving difficult puzzles and also coming up with the most weird ideas. But there's also a very simple and straightforward way to kind of hack that, and it's actually, you know, stop trying. Just, you know, stop trying. So find a way to, you know, get to the magic of mind wandering. I remember we had this fantastic conference with Arne, the design conference, where we focus on, you know, help yourself keep your mind wandering. How can you do that? And there's a few simple ways to do it. You can take a walk. You can do the dishes. That's usually appreciated in this household. So this is why, well, we have a dishwasher. It doesn't really work. Sorry, I went a bit too fast. So you can also just look out the window or look at the ceiling. And this is what we're going to try now. So I'm going to ask you to have a minute. And I made you this lovely picture. I went out of my way to make this picture. No, this is just a standard picture. So let's have a minute to mind wander. Yeah, 1 minute, and you and Yen will wake you up when it's there. And you can just look at this picture, but maybe you can look outside or
Okay.
ceiling.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go mind wander.
Okay, go wander. So we're back. So let's make 20 more. That's the whole trick. So we're not going to stop trying. We're going to try 20 more. But of course, we're very curious if this little intervention actually made any difference. And there's another thing. So I'm very curious if there's a difference between the first kind of iteration and the second, because now I see a lot of people writing or doing, but I'm curious how many people actually really use the role or change the role or change the structure, or, you know, cut and paste it, or, you know, ruin it or use it, maybe not use it, but you can use it in many ways. So I'm very curious if that makes any change. And you probably all heard of the coffee filter challenge. And this is also, there's a difference between people who look at the object and people who actually change the structure of the object. So don't hold back. Use it, take it, change it, whatever. And we have, because now you're very educated in it, now you have only 3 minutes to come up with 20 new purposes. All right?
Okay. I'll start a time.
Yes, good.
So coffee filter.
No, Arne. Oh, that went fast. Really fast. So thank you. Let's have a little popcorn pop-up. Whoever wants to share or give us some, share some insights or share something that, about your experience. And also, I'm very curious, do you sense any difference between the first iteration and the second, or is there anything, which intervention did it actually work, or is that just all bogus? So who wants to share some thoughts? Don't forget to unbutton your microphone.
Yeah,
Anyone?
Yeah, I was at some point I started to see that I was generating ideas based on the properties of the photo, and the mind just flew into different ideas, and then any comment, any object, look around, any words would just spring up a new idea, and that was a really delicious moment.
Fantastic. And was it different in the first iteration than in the second, or?
Yeah, because I could only feel this part in the second one, where I
Oh, really?
felt more relaxed, because in the first one was kind of like rushing through ideas, and they were bubbling in my head and just had to put them out. And then I felt like, I don't know what else to do. And that's kind of grabbing one here and grabbing one there, and just any word would just pop up an idea. Like I went into like someone said I couldn't see something, or I read something about it. I thought a blindfold, yeah, and then a makeup remover, and because it's just next to the eyes, you get all the makeup, and not me. I usually don't use makeup, but
no problem.
Except in special days. But that's for a different session. But yeah, very, very interesting.
Cool. Who wants to share?
One other, yeah.
Someone on YouTube said birthday decoration or scarf. So they changed the form.
Ah, okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, because that's actually interesting. Can you, and that's one of the biggest trouble is, can you move beyond the category? Because this is because we are so sensitive to any inputs, anything we see. This also shows that actually our brains are very tricky when it comes to being influenced by anything that just pops up. But it's interesting that can you move beyond kind of the standard category of what is in front of you? That's always difficult. It's even more difficult. Who else?
Last one.
I had when I've started to wear my new hat and scarf, I noticed actually it could be a medical device for testing things like hearing and fine motor skill movement on the fingers. So can you actually, when you start to touch the paper around your ears, what does it sound like? And can you feel it? So that was a real extension of the other senses than just looking at it.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Okay. So actually, so do you mean actually that for you, the second iteration where actually you got the instruction of, really, take that object and actually change it or touch it, that actually those senses triggered that, or?
Yeah, I'm an intuitive thinker by preference, so I don't find it difficult. But when I touched it and really connected with it physically, there was a huge expansion.
Yeah. It's also interesting when you hold that to your ears, because actually that is like an amplifier, because it's such a crispy sound. So it's cool. It's really nice perspective. Really interesting.
These are available for sale at the end.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll make a little shop there and just get them like 100 grand. That's good because it's a one-off. So
Maarten, we need to go on.
Okay, sorry. Yes, let's move on. Yeah. So, but this was just a nice exercise, and nothing depending on it's not your, your life's, or your judgment by your teacher. So that is just cool. But you can see that there's actually ways to trigger your mind to come up with divergent thinking and to come up with lots of ideas. But of course, and that is still the biggest question. How can we find, predict, and measure kind of these possibility thinkers? And that is of course where this Mr. Kaufman was really focusing on. Scott Barry Kaufman, he started this Imagination Institute, and it would be interesting you can check this out, because he's handing out grants. They received a big pile of money. They're handing out grants for anyone who's coming up with a good measurement institute to measure in imagination. Because he really has this idea of, and actually he has been talking to all these big tech companies that have just abandoned all these kind of standard tests because they really feel like they're just only measuring half our brain capabilities. So he's really setting up something to measure, well, the other half. It just really depends how you measure that, but with what he is calling the imagination quotient. So he's really focused on that. But of course, my question is a little bit, it's great, and we see all these lists, and it's all a hot topic, but sometimes I feel also a little bit like, yeah, I see these things happening, and then when any client, I step in their office and they do a few nice workshops and they do some nice things, and I make money off that. So that's also fine, I don't mind. But it's also where you think like, but is there anything changing really? Are we, and also in the sense that, you know, are we really capitalizing on our capabilities? If this is actually just half what we can, if we're just only focusing on, you know, these kind of deductive thinking and actually not really tapping into that other capability. So are we really doing the right thing? And so how can we kind of explore that capability and make use of that in a much better way? Because I mean, we need to really solve some really tricky problems. So my question is to you, and also for you to discuss, and in any way you would like, is how might we design working conditions that allow people to use their whole brain, and also not only personal but also on a collective level, to imagine futures that we'd like to see. And so how might we do this? So this is a question to you. We'll have a little breakout for that, and you can focus on that question. But of course, you know, you can also ask yourself, should we? You know, is this really something we should do, or should we just ignore this and say, hey, no, we're fine, everything is cool. Let's not worry about these issues. So this is my question to you. How can we bring these kind of capabilities and capitalize on them much more in our work day? And maybe not really yours, but in, you know, a lot of corporate setting. So how long do we have here? 7 minutes. Oh yeah, 7 minutes. Okay, right, it's there.
I would like to ask Pedro to help us to make breakout rooms for 3 persons, right?
Right. See you later.
This is how might we measure creativity, right?
Yeah. So how yeah, creativity or imagination, or how can we kind of, you know, capitalize on these capabilities and make sure that we get something, you know, how can we do this? How can we improve the way we work together? Yeah.
Cool.
Or should we? That's the big question. So I don't join the breakout, Yuen? No.
No. I don't either. Oh, Pedro went. Oh, okay. Let's see who stays behind.
So Maarten, I'm curious to hear, like, what kind of conversations are you encountering around this question in your work or with students?
So actually, well, the funny thing is that, especially my experience with students, is that they find these things really difficult, especially, and it sounds a bit weird, but I notice, and this is also my own experience when I was studying, that actually when you're a student, you really want to conform to, you know, knowing the way to do it. And so actually a lot of students, that's my experience, are very conformists. And they find it very uncomfortable to take this kind of risk, because you know divergent thinking feels also very risky, right? Because it can, you know, it's also how am I you know accepting silly ideas is really counterintuitive for a lot of people. So this is also what I notice when working with students, that actually they find divergent thinking or you know experimenting very scary. And maybe that's just these kind of students, but this is really something that struck me. And of course, I mean, I also noticed something when working with clients, is that there's kind of this kind of a workshop attitude. So people are so much to doing workshops that yeah, okay, you know, we'll join this. But then bridging the gap between, you know, the workshop mode and then actually doing the work, there's something, you know, I don't know, something strange happens. And I just had this team in a training, and they brought in their kind of, I asked them to kind of create some problem frames for project they would be working on, and we would share them. And we had done just this fantastic, you know, iterative workshop, and they really knew how to do this in the workshop. But then they came back with these frames, and I was like, but, you know, what happened? You know, this is really, they were such instrumental and boring problem frames. I was like, you know, I probably did something wrong, but, you know, during the workshop, they were really fine to come up with the most amazing frames. But then as soon as they switch to their job, it becomes it gets lost, or I don't know, it's just somewhere evaporating. So, but I'm not sure how your experience with this. I'm very curious about that. What is your experience with these?
Let's welcome Chris and Christoph and Patricia. Please join the conversation if you like to.
Yes.
Thank you very much. As I wrote, there was nobody in my room, so I jumped out again.
Good.
For some reason. Yeah, I have to say I enjoyed the session very much. And one of the Design Thinkers group had a session yesterday, even somewhere at SC. Who is the other guy who was there?
Arne, maybe.
Mark Bolek.
Yeah.
And I joined the session yesterday. I found it very
cool.
I found it very interesting how you started that, because I had a talk the last week at a university in Sweden, and I was talking about abductive reasoning in terms of sense making, and I was actually expecting that you would say, "Oh, I can turn on my camera. I'm so sorry." Expecting
don't worry.
that there would be deduction, and there would be then induction, and then
abduction. Yeah. All these crazy terms. Yeah. But it's actually, I mean, it's not that one of these things is wrong. I mean, we need to use all these skills, but somehow it's also very much ingrained in our education system. I see this with my kids, that it's really about answering the right question. It's not really about asking good questions. It's really about answer the question. There's only one answer.
Totally. I was just mentioning that because it gave my whole idea of insight generation a different frame, like you said, coming up with new rules, seeing new rules in the things. And exactly. Another thing, maybe that author Robert Musil, I think he's an Austrian author, if I'm not mistaken, and he wrote a famous series of books, and the name is The Man Without Properties or something like that.
Oh.
And he very much speaks about I think it was in the beginning of the last century when the books were published, and he speaks about that there needs to be a new mindset, thinking about possibilities. And I found that very striking, because this was obviously very new at that time, and I think he even is a Nobel Prize owner for.
His name sounds familiar. I didn't read the book, but his name sounds pretty familiar. Yeah, it's cool.
I can't completely recollect that, but it very much fit to imagination.
Yeah, and it's also interesting. The famous author Noel Harari has also written this kind of the about sapiens and I think it's really interesting. And also he describes actually that when societies would take the risks to come up with new ideas, that would be really celebrated. So actually, it's really, I mean, it helped our evolution. So it is actually valued to take the risk to come up with new ideas. But it's something that we tend to forget sometimes, especially in the work setting. That is my curiosity a little bit. But it's cool. Yeah, cool. Thanks.
Christoph, would you have an example of that you were taking the risk of a new idea, giving it to others? Yeah, I wonder.
Me personally? Sorry, I was a little bit distracted, I have to admit, because I looked up the name, and it's The Man Without Qualities, and the book is and the book is The Man Without Quantities, obviously. And it's from 1930. But
wow.
Yeah, and he's an Austrian writer, and I had that somewhere on a profile because I found that quote so striking about as he said, we have to develop a sense of possibility, and we currently have a sense of reality. We have to step out because of the time, right?
Wow.
Well, cool. Pedro is just making gestures.
but thanks, Christoph. I will really look into it, because maybe you can put the link on the chat. Because it's nice, I think, for people to read up, and I love books, and it's always difficult to keep up, but great tip. Thanks.
Yeah, people are coming back now, I think, Pedro?
Yes, so of course this still takes like 35 seconds now for all of them to come back.
Yeah.
But it's closing down. I should have changed the
Yeah,
setting
it's fine.
to make it close faster.
That's fine. Yeah.
It's okay. What time is it? Oh, it's already 1:45. Wow. Okay.
Time flies, doesn't it?
It's crazy. It's so weird.
No, you just imagine it. You just imagine it flies.
Yeah.
No,
It's
but there's
just
something,
doing what it
especially also,
does.
but it's interesting, and also this iteration thing. So the time is such a really strange, elastic. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody's back.
Clear that 45 minutes have passed since the beginning of the session.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a kind of a logical curve.
No, it's not. No.
So I'm very curious. Who wants to share something? Okay, let's have a little quick share. Who wants to bring us some insights or something, or some answers? Maybe that would be even awesome if we have some answers.
The only thing I can say is that my daughter just came in and said, "Why are you wearing toilet paper?"
That's a very good question. That's the answer.
And I try to explain in 2 sentences that this is all supposed to be because it's like lateral thinking. What?
But why did she still like questions about what you do, Arnie? I think if you were like that, it would be like, this is normal dad thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's
I
like
wouldn't be surprised. At some point.
No. Normal dad thing, being a teenager, so being sort of like, oh my God.
You're embarrassing anyway, whatever you do.
You're in front of a group of people with toilet paper on your neck.
Ooh,
How
it's
bad parent can you be?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's amazing. Yeah.
So I just want to, so I want to hear from other people, obviously. Only one thing I wanted to kind of throw in, maybe other groups also talked about this, is that I was like, yeah, and then I talk too much. But which, yeah, it's what I do.
We know.
Yeah. But the thing is that when you say you set us up for this sort of these questions, and in a way I felt, and I think my group shared that, I know my group shared it. We felt like, hey, that sounds like a negative thing. It sounds like capitalizing on imagination. And then I thought, and then my counter argument was like, isn't everything imagination? How can you not use imagination? How can you not? How is that? How can name me one example that, of anything we do as human beings that isn't connected, and specifically in business environment? Because what is not, part of imagination? If it's not, maybe there's some biological things that we do, but what is not imagination?
But then on the other side of the scale is like, let's say for a bank, daily operations running smoothly, that's where the money is.
Yeah.
On the short term. And then how can then you might say, yeah, perhaps we're just using half of the potential there. How can we then?
Yeah, but Pedro, okay, just to kind of, because to finish that argument, building on what you're saying. Yes.
Wait, guys, let's hear from the audience.
No, that's my point. Then I'll leave. No, we don't care about audiences. It's about us. No, sorry. Just wanted to say. All right, I'll shut up. All right, audience members. Please.
Audience first.
Audience.
Vibke wanted to talk. Go.
In my audience? Okay.
Yes.
Of course.
It's like, Anna, I'm just the opposite at the moment. It's like I was in a breakout room with Jimena, and since we established a little custom of then switching to Spanish, and I'm just so stressed at the moment because I've got so much work on my desk, talking about desks, square structures being set in structures. And I thought, oh my God, I can't think in Spanish. Plus, I can't just now imagine anything because it's like too much stress, too much structure is exactly the opposite of what we want. And this is how we got into the discussion that I thought, well, this is exactly what you don't need to inspire imagination. Too much structure, too many square structures.
But you're saying that imagination is always a positive thing. You can imagine very boring things. You can imagine a jail. You can imagine how to torture people. This is not about only positive things. So this is claiming that imagination is the positive force and everything else is holding it back. It is about what are we trying to do? And my claim would be everything's imagination.
Let's listen to Ryan, because Ryan wanted to say something.
My question to the team is, whether vocally or in the chat, how many people immediately thought of the paper towel as a tool to help teach children crafts or math or measurements? Did anyone discuss how it could, in its own form, be deconstructed as a learning tool?
Teaching kids to count. Yeah, I had that one because you could rep 1, 2.
Yeah,
that was on,
awesome.
That was number 6 on the second slot of ideas.
All right. Did anyone suggest it being used for animal toy bedding or food, for like rodents?
Idea 12. Toy for pets.
Okay.
Okay.
But any insights about because
it's a toy for cats. It's a toy for my cats, but it really is. So that wasn't really imagination. They love to play with it.
It's just reality.
But I thought about fighting.
I don't have that.
Maarten, please.
No, so of course, yeah. So so I get your point, Arne, about everything is imagination, and of course it depends on what you do with it. But I tend to think, and I think I like the what you explained, Wiebke, about the situation where you're in the structure, and it's difficult to get beyond the structure you're in, because that is just that is your confinement. And I believe, yes, of course, imagination can be used for all kinds of purposes. And my goal is not to imagination as such, but much more the capability to come up with options and optionality, not just one option, but many options, and the capability of creating divergence and creating many different perspectives on the situation you're in, which is difficult when you feel you cannot cross those boundaries. So that is, I think, a little bit kind of what taps into that situation. And I'm curious, how can we kind of, get rid of those boundaries? We probably don't find an answer today. That's okay. That's okay. I think that's just fine. But just, to answer kind of the question that is at hand is, of course, so can you imagine imagination? I don't think so. But and there's a few tricks to JP Guilford made this kind of alternative uses test, which uses this kind of practices, and of course that gives you something. So when you want to have measure the alternative uses of an object, then it really counts the number of alternative ideas and the level of originality. Is it really an original idea, or is it really a poor idea? Level of flexibility. Can you spread through domains? I think that is the tricky part. Can you move from one domain to another domain? And the level of detail. So there is a kind of a way to measure this, but then it doesn't really tell you much. It just tells you a little bit, how good are you at the divergent thinking. But of course, then the question is still, does it really bring you something? And of course, oh yeah, this is a tricky question. Do we still do this, Yuen?
Well, yes, because we are heading towards the end.
Yes.
Yes.
Good. So let's do a little poll, and we're going to just measure you, because that's the whole point of this case. So let's check how everybody is done.
So the question is, how many ideas did you find? I'm going to pull up a poll, and you can answer, and then we'll see. So this is the poll.
It's the gullet pet, Arne, but then the white one.
So you're seeing the poll?
Is it out there? I don't see it.
You don't see it?
No.
No, it's not in your screen. Then I need to ask my very kind fellow facilitator Pedro to do it.
He's frozen.
Is Pedro frozen?
Oh, here it is.
Oh, here it is.
Here, yeah.
There you are. Okay. So how many ideas did you generate in the two exercises? On the first of 4 minutes, and then the second of 3 minutes. And from 0 to 5, sound bit short. From 6 to 10, 11 to 20, 20 to 1 to 30, 31 to 40, and above 40.
Waiting for 5 more persons to fill in.
Yeah.
Last 3 persons.
And we might just count just 2, 2, 2, 2, boom.
What was that?
That was the end of the poll.
Exactly.
So, big question, of course. My big question is, of course, do we share these results with you?
Yeah. So we have a couple of outliers from 0 to 5 and above 40.
Yeah, but do we share this? Do we want to know, or do we?
Oh, well,
I think UN has a very
I was
opinion.
against it. Yes, I had a very prominent opinion, and this also states, having 2 persons controlling the controls is a bit tricky. So having heard Maarten and having discussions with them while preparing, I thought that should we not wrap up this session actually with an emotion and stay curious and hold the not knowing of the poll results and stay hungry and close the session with an open ending and connect with each other with a question instead of an answer. So and Pedro, I'm talking to you. You are the guy who says we need to break patterns. We need to break the pattern of competition. Teaching me never to let go of control. Anyway, we did share the results.
Oh, you did already? Okay.
Pedro
okay,
did.
Cool. Okay,
Pedro
I didn't
did.
see that. Okay.
So you
Okay,
can
well then
see-
you know. Now you know.
Yes.
We're all very average. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
good. It's not about the amount of ideas, of course. Although my teacher disagreed with that. But then again, so to get back to kind of the premise of this session, so what's the value of imagination? I have no idea. But the only thing is that I had this sense like if we only use half our capabilities, we might as well just double them and get a little bit better results. Why not? Yeah. But then I agree with Arne's point, like it's really also how we use that and how do we get beyond our limitations and the frames we're in. That's going to be the tricky part. So
okay.
No answers yet, but let's continue that conversation in later on.
Yes, Maarten, thank you. Thank you very much for this session, leading to no answer. Thank you for you being with us, and we will open up for backstage a little bit, giving you a few more seconds. First of all, I'm going to share with you the session of next week with this topic. And this topic is going to be handled by Pedro and Arne. You can't do that. Good.
Should I?
Yes.
Should I quit my screen? Sorry.
You can quit your screen. Yes.
How do I do that?
So you see the announcement for next week. I know that Pedro and Arne do not wish to comment on this session, on this coming session. No, please.
It will just be amazing. Today was a very good session. I really enjoyed today, and I think the next week will also be a very good one.
All right.
You're all invited next week.
If you want to stay with us, guys, I'm going to close the session now. People, please, if you want to connect with us, this is the social media. You can find us. Thank you for being with us, and we are going to open the backstage for a further talk, and we love you to stay with us. Okay, bye-bye for now.
Thank you.
And it's backstage.
Yeah.
Gosh, guys, what did we do?
Really a nice one. It makes me think.
That was
So
really
let's
nice.
go back to the bank issue we were talking about.
Get rid of the banks.
I think that's really interesting. It's when you need this time to think, and you need time to test a lot of new stuff. And of course, then companies say, there's an operation to run, and you need to be efficient. You need to be productive. So stop the crap. Just do the work and start rowing for the organization. And I think this is where really design management struggles. It's really, can you break this pattern and make sure that there's some space within the normal processes of an organization to have time to produce the 20 ideas and then the other 20, and actually break the molds and come up with something more interesting for a business. And that struggle is amazing and difficult, extremely difficult in organizations. I certainly remember a lot of the efforts when I was a design director and an innovation director. That was really hard in a company with 2,500 engineers trying to make projects work, IT projects work, and me with my team trying to stir the whole process in a different direction, and everyone's work transform it in a different way. That was really difficult.
Can I finish my argument with you?
Absolutely.
Can I finally?
Do you have your toilet paper gloves? Because I
hang on, man, hang on.
Yeah.
This is gonna be,
yeah, we're not going to this fight without some proper protection.
Yeah. We don't want to hurt each other, eh?
No.
No, I don't want to hurt my hands. I want to hurt him, not my hands. Well, it's actually quite good because these are gloves, and if your hands start bleeding or his nose, it basically you can wipe the blood of his. So it's really
that's
nice.
good. You can just hit a blow and then wipe his nose.
Yeah, you go. So you go like. No. Well, my argument. No, I mean, so my thought was when you said, it's really difficult to convince all these people. Yeah. What business are they in? So, I mean, I'm so frustrated with this never-ending weird kind of discussion around innovation, in imagination, trying new things, experimentation, when most of the companies, if not all companies, at least all companies I know, there might be companies out there that do not do any of these things at all, but most companies I know are built on ideas and innovation. So whether you are a shampoo brand where you have a lab where they develop new perfumes, where they develop new soaps, and their lab has a creative structure. So if you're a pharmaceutical, you have a creative people in the lab. They try things out, they test things. Yeah, that's very nice. So I mean, and then it moves to the business, and all of a sudden it's like, So my example, one of my first examples was working for this large organization in automotive, German company. Schwäbisch, it's really hardcore German engineering company. Okay, so they called their innovation departments submarines, because if they show themselves, they'd be killed, because the business just saw that they didn't know what they were doing, and they were like, oh, they're just spending money. But what was the success of this company based on? Everything that the innovation departments produce. That's where they came from. That's what the founders started. That's what they did. So where in the history did sort of the business and sort of the bean counters take over control of the people who were actually the inventors and the people who actually started all these companies? Where did that happen, and why? And how did we, how do we accept that? And so
Yeah, I'm curious to hear from the others. And perhaps I could ask Emil, what have you seen in your branch?
Where's Emil?
Numbers. It's all about numbers, figures, statistics, graphics, and they all should go up every year. So I agree with Arne. If you have like a submarine and it surfaces and it's vulnerable to success, and I don't know, are we in a submarine now altogether?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Is somebody already making money here with doing this? Somebody, please, Maarten, you are a guest. You've been paid.
Well, I don't make money on this. Well, I make money on, of course, trying to talk about these things and do these things. But I also feel frustrated about the fact that people are getting so much used to this kind of the workshop mode, or we have an innovation session, and they do all very nicely and they do these things good, and then you talk about their their daily job and you think like, hey, can you come up with maybe what could you do differently in a small thing on a small level? And then they come up with, so they've done a fantastic workshop and they really know how to think divergently. And then when they talk about their own work, and I ask them to kind of frame that in a different way, and it's just impossible. And maybe I met just really silly people. That could be very well me. I don't meet so many people, but it's still, I find it funny that we have these capabilities, but we don't always use them when we're in our kind of general work situation. And I'm really, I don't know why that is. So that's my big question. Why is that? And why are we actually just using half of our capabilities when we actually have them at our hands? Actually, like Arne says, 90% of these companies are based on an innovation or based on a different thought. So this is what brought them money, but then they got stuck in operations and moving the needles like 1 millimeter every year.
I would like to hear some other voices as well. Perhaps.
I'm sorry, you.
No, not at all. You are triggering stuff. So
I'd like to react on that. What he does, if he gets paid for this, he does his job well because he talks. But
well, I actually do get paid for that. Yes.
Oh yeah, okay. I sometimes think that too. But the first liberating structure is I think to start for yourself. Like when you want to be complete free, you can be free alone, but alone is alone. To change, I heard Pedro talking about a company of 2,500 people, but that's where I work now, and you can't change that company. You can change it. You have the shareholders, you have the management structures, you can't change it. And I agree, I don't think submarines are allowed. But there's another life. I hope for you, everybody who's working, that next to your working life, you have a life on your own, and start there being creative. I talked with Steve in room 5. We were the two of us, Steve and Bozak. The two of us, we were talking about what is the maximum to facilitate. We didn't talk about that afterwards. So I'd like to take this opportunity to say that for me, the most important thing to be creative, to be fully creative, also with other people, is to be free and to be to have a safe. Stephen said it, to have what did you call it? A safe. Stephen?
A safe space.
Space, yeah, because trust is very important. Thank you, Stephen.
Jimena?
So, like Emil just mentioned about that, you get like even like the space, but what happens if you think you're giving the space to the people to be creative and imaginative, however, they don't take like that step to create. and it's something you're encouraging and something you're expecting and something you are like promoting and like providing sort of like input on upon like these new things, and still like this maybe feeling of holding back. So what do you do when that happens, right? Because you've been like really promoting or encouraging it, yet you find the same things.
Yeah.
What do you do there?
I think that, well, if there's still blocking forces going on, I think you're still not in a safe place. So you have to be absolutely sure, and maybe that takes a while, especially with people who are creative and maybe set to their own and not so expressionist people, but maybe people who can be creative on their own. To connect them, you have to give them trust that they won't be, their ideas won't be abused. So that's you have to put in a lot of effort. And some people, when they have different interests, like money or something, then it's difficult because everybody feels that there's different interests and not only the safe place.
And also, I'd like to hear from Katja Chimmel, who teaches and consults on design management. Just get a few words from her on these.
I'm not teaching on design management, Pedro. I'm actually teaching creativity and organizational change. That's true.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that the same? Sorry. No, sorry, Katja. No, we know it's not the same.
Not the same, no.
Way more interesting.
Yes, it's in the economy faculty. It's in a Master for Innovation. So, I mean, all what we were seeing today, it's only a little part of the whole creativity world, isn't it?
Of course.
And if you look at it from a systemic perspective, you have the creative thinker with its knowledge and imagination. Then you have the team, the group. Then you have the organization. Then you have all these organizations in a country, in several countries. Then you have society, which can accept new ideas, which are really imaginative or original, we can call it like this, or not. There's a market who helps a lot in design and technology, but there are other areas which new ideas and imagination actually is not validated, like religion. It's very difficult to be imaginative. I mean, we are all very imaginative in religion, I'm sure. But if you are in a certain system, you can't pronounce that because there are a lot of blocks. And so from the point of view of creativity in a systemic perspective, there are a lot of different factors which make that the company, organization, or country is more creative or more innovative, more radically innovative than only by our thinking. So that is actually the perspectives which interests me at the moment. And from the point of view of creative thinking, imagination is, I mean, we can discuss, is imagination only images, or can we also imagine, I'm sure we can, tastes, smells. So somebody who's doing a perfume is not working with images, but with a smell. Actually, in German, it is Vorstellungskraft. It's the power to think about something which is not existing. So you don't need an image. So this is also interesting to see how far imagination can go, and perhaps to redefine it.
You said that
So many things to think about when you look to the whole system.
It's a very wide, it's a very wide.
Yeah. So Pedro, actually, I don't know what you wanted to know from me.
Just keep talking. We'll tell you when you said it. Yes, that was it. That was the thing.
First, do we? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Do we need a revolution or something? Do we need a revolution? Well, I give you an example. There was in the news yesterday was something about European government wanted to develop a Bauhaus organization for total style of Europe. So,
addicted to our
let's institutionalize creativity. It is not possible. The Bauhaus was, like everybody knows, was a total style of different arts, and now they want to have something, but they want to give the rules from Europe, and that was like, for me, it was no. We need subversive groups. We need submarines to do this, and not. I think that's why great companies doesn't, because they have all these rules and these processes. Except when it's a creative company, but I don't know if there's creative companies that are that big.
Maybe it's just, I'm facilitating a conference next week for the Ministry of City Planning, etc., in where I live. And yes, and there's one keynote speaker, and he's saying, he's a planning specialist, and he's saying, well, the city management should really be a governmental thing, and government should really be responsible for keeping inner city centers alive. So maybe creativity is the same thing. Maybe we have to be really disruptive and make it a public good. Maybe there should be a ministry for creativity and for guaranteeing creative working conditions. And we have we are the think tank to facilitate that.
Yeah, actually in Portugal, there is a Ministry of Innovation, isn't it, Pedro? The problem is these kind of ministries, they speak a lot of, we really need creative people, creative companies to be innovative, but then they actually don't give the conditions that happens.
No, but that's of course a little bit the same as the innovation department. As soon as you talk about these kind of inherent capabilities and you put that in the department, then for sure it's not gonna bring anything, because then you'd rather have a submarine which just moves away and then suddenly pops up with and explodes with disruptive ideas. I think as soon as you put it in a department, actually that is your way. That's the same as saying, okay, let's make a Bauhaus structure for imagination. Then for sure that nothing is going to come out of that.
It was
a different name. We were the business design thing, but we couldn't be innovation, because then we would be just shut down the business.
So I was listening to it. I think it was somewhere a TEDx talk or something about dyslexia, because I have dyslexia, and my daughter was just diagnosed with dyslexia. So I thought maybe I should find out what it actually is, because I have it. I had it all my life. I know what it does to you. But what was interesting in the talk, what kind of triggered something was interesting, where so the talk was about schools and how, and then you're thinking, oh, so it's about how people with dyslexia don't fit into schools systems. And that's true, because I'm a school dropout, so I never fitted into any school system or any system whatsoever. So but they twisted it actually in the story about so if you need, so like Einstein had dyslexia, Steve Jobs had dyslexia. There's all these people who made real differences, who are innovators who had dyslexia, and actually they said, so it's actually, how do you survive a school system if you do not have dyslexia? Because if you have dyslexia, you're wired differently anyway. There's nothing you can do. You're going to think different. It's part of your, we make the best spice, by the way, I also heard. But so we are wired differently. And it's interesting how they said, yeah, but so what if you don't have dyslexia and you have to go through school? You're going to be educated out of creativity. Everything's going to be, So I thought it was an interesting way of thinking about that. So it's not just about institutionalizing. I think it's about realizing that in the way we teach, it starts at school, basically, right? So it starts at school. It starts at valuing creativity, creative thinking, lateral thinking, et cetera, et cetera. And so instead of linear thinking, we all know that, but. And I think that's possible. I think it's happening as well. I don't think it's, I think we see it, right? It's happening. So I don't know. So
sorry, Arne.
Any thought about that?
Arne, I know what you mean. You see, school is also faced with the the inspectie here in Holland.
Yeah, sure,
And
sure.
they want to produce numbers of
Yes.
top students, graduates. So the motivation is the wrong way, but that's how the system now works. And I'm sorry to hear that.
But I even think that, I mean, you can put anything in numbers. I mean, we put all kinds of bullshit in numbers. So you can also put imagination. I believe you can put that in numbers, whatever way you want to count. You can count anything. Just you can even say, okay,
money is also just imagination.
Yeah. So
There's
actually,
no such
so if that is the case, if that is kind of the frame we need to use to hack the system, then let's just use numbers, and we'll figure out numbers to measure your imaginative skills, as long as we can, convince our ministries that, this is a very, very beneficiary quality or capability. Let's put that in numbers. That was a little bit my first initial thinking. Like, let's just make it some kind of numbers, and then
stop it,
everybody's
Maarten.
happy.
Let
Sorry.
David say something.
I would like to bring a practical piece that happened in Group 8 back. Maarten, you had us brainstorm, then we paused and we looked at your picture, and then we came back. And one of the conversations in Group 8 with Sergio and Maria and myself was that she noticed that in some creative organizations that they start the meeting with hello, welcome, a ding, 1 minute, pause, and then a second ding after 1 minute. And we really talked about how in the Zoom world that pause that you helped us create really did result in differences. And that maybe if we brought this into the Zoom world of just pausing for that 1 minute, not long, not big, just pause so that we all get there, we all let our minds kind of go.
That's awesome.
Kind of thing. But we start the meeting and then we pause. And I thought that was such an insight.
Great. That's
absolutely.
It was
just
awesome.
Just wow. I had to share that.
Cool. Thanks, David. Really cool. Really cool.
I want to say something about the measuring thing, because with this number, we are only speaking about quantitative measuring and not qualitative. No. So in this divergent thinking theory, we have the fluency, which is counting the numbers. That's what we did, how many ideas we have. But then we have also flexibility, which means in which different categories everybody has thought these ideas. Some draws, other only write, other made a prototype. So this is also to do with flexibility. And then comes originality, then comes elaboration, and then comes a lot of other criteria. There's a book which is based on a theory from Torrance, and it was actually a Spanish guy who wrote that. And he did different questions to test. For example, you give an image and you had to transform it. And then there were different solutions, how you can measure, for example, if you are around the image, very nearby, this is 0 point. If you are a bit outside, it's 1. Then it's so there are a lot of different criteria. And they also in the book have normally or half of people who did this transformation did an elephant. If you haven't done an elephant and face and a tree, then it's more original. So this is so complex, this imagination, creative thinking, evaluation. And I actually think it's fascinating. I think it's also important for our community, because I'm also doing design thinking trainings. And what companies normally ask me is always, how can you prove that that works?
Yes.
And I normally say, I can't actually. Because I can't test 2 groups, exactly the same people, one working with design thinking and the other not. And if I do 2 groups and there are other people, so of course the result is different. So I just can't do it. The only thing what I can perhaps in a way measure is how the mindset and the working way of people change. But even there, I think actually Anne and Pedro and all these others, Design Thinker Academy, I think that could be a nice research project, which we could perhaps do together, is how can we invent something which helps us in a way to say, you see, if now the mindset is that from this group of people, and after our training is that, and that is better for your company, for the innovation, for the change, etc. So I leave this challenge.
Yeah, we can even get a grant from this Imagination Foundation, because they're looking for people who come up with measurements instruments. So
okay,
there's money.
So we are in the Wednesday Web Jam, and in the Wednesday Web Jam, I put a hat on where I'm not a salesman, I'm not a consultant, and I'm just like I say. I think if someone asks me, can you prove that this works? I say, all right, next slide, please. So, goodbye. We're not going to get along. This is, if you don't understand that, if you don't do this, if you don't have creativity in your company, if you don't have people who have a safe space to experiment and try things out, if you don't see the value of that around you everywhere, I mean, if you don't understand the value of design, just think about just everything around you. Look around you, say everything that's ever been designed or imagined by anyone, any human being, where are you? Take that away. Take everything that's designed or imagined by human beings, take it away, in your mind, and tell me where you are. If that's all, if you snap your fingers and it's gone, where are you? I think you're sitting in a field or a forest or something naked. Right? So I mean, just as an idea.
Yeah, but I think that is too easy, Arne. I still think that, I mean, it's true, and it's true for you, and it's true for us, and we all preach the same church, so that's all fine. But I think it would be good to. I think it's a good exercise to figure out, which way can you try to make quantifiable a quality that's also, it's just also a muscle. I mean, just doing this more often, doing divergent thinking or doing these kind of tricks. I mean, you can train that. You can train it. I believe it for sure.
I wonder,
let's go
Arne,
and let's take that challenge. Yes,
Arne.
No,
well,
no. We're backstage. You're not in control. It's just, all right, sorry.
While you
Go
were
ahead,
explaining to us how you saw it, where was your feeling of empathy then? Where was it?
With all those beautiful people who are so
all
creative.
Those naked people there in the field. What did you feel for them?
At least they have toilet paper, so.
Oh yeah, well, no, because someone imagined that.
Don't escape the question.
No, I say no. I'll give you a straight answer because I think that there's so much creative. Oh, I disappeared. Sorry.
Hey, what are you doing? You're evasive.
Don't hide. Don't hide.
Actually, Anne also is in the river.
I'll use the other camera.
Pictures from Anne. One is in the river and the other is in the room.
Yeah.
Remember my question.
I'll answer
about imagination.
I just want to push back a little bit against the measuring.
Oh, you're saving me.
Because
no.
No, but I mean, all of us have seen instances where logic and metrics and facts don't get in the way of somebody's bad decision. We've seen that in abundance, especially this year. And what this conversation makes me think of is like the impact, say, of stories like science fiction, where now we're living Star Trek in a number of ways. And if you look at like astronauts, you'll hear like, oh, I watched Star Trek when I was a kid and that inspired me to go into the space program. So I'm just curious, like if any of you all have experience with design fiction, and might that be a vehicle of storytelling where we can model the future for people, make it feel more certain and cool and desirable. Maybe that helps people overcome the fear of the unknown and be more open to accepting or moving into a future that's different. I don't know. Thoughts?
Yeah, but I think so. I agree with you. I mean that's fantastic, and we really need that. We need those examples. But I think there's also something else going on, and that we have this capability when we were, when we grew up, we would be very at ease in, playing and having a kind of a shared imagination where you play together with friends, and you had this story, and you would be in that story together with 5, 6, 7, 8 people. Children, and that would be, you would feel very at ease in doing these things, and I wonder, is that if that is not a quality that we still possess, and we should, we somehow have have gotten in a situation where you think, okay, we should abandon this now because now I'm a professional and I don't do these things. But I think it's kind of a capability that can, benefit everybody. So so I think, yes, we need more examples or more. I really appreciate science fiction because that presents us with thoughts, and usually they tell us more about the present than about the future. But still, I think that is it's like an exercise, which is fantastic. But I think it's also, we can do this.
I agree.
Isn't
It's
that
like
nice?
it's training your brain, and it's like you go and exercise every day, and you have to do it, and we can still do it. We've been doing it for so many weeks now, just doing crazy things, trying out,
Absolutely,
experimenting.
It's a workout.
It's a workout. I know. Workout week.
So, Ryan, you want to close the session for us? Because it's past.
Yeah, good.
Go ahead, Ryan.
So I'm Ryan Schnackenberg. I'm new to the club and really excited. I met Mark 3 years ago. I've been thinking a lot about imagination. As my time 10 years ago at General Motors, we asked ourselves, what if we did total in-house UI, UE, UX, HMI development for global car, global programs. So what we did is we used imagination to say, who can facilitate the key stakeholder interviews and gather the requirements that the designers have and put a minimal viable product like a Dell XT tablet in their hands and a motion graphics suite and Adobe tools so that they can illustrate and visualize 2D images in an interactive way. And now General Motors is in its 4th iteration, and it has learned so much from the failure of the iDrive system that BMW did in 2007. And I helped facilitate bringing all those people together in order to enable imagination. So that's what I leave with today.
Awesome.
Cool. Amazing.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you. Union?
Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, I was.
Very cool.
All right, people. It is time. It is time to say goodbye to each other. Thank you, Maarten, for being with us and poking around in our thoughts and imaginations. Please do so again in the future. So next week, you can't do that. That's the session. Hope to see you again. And bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Arne. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Pedro. Really well done. Really enjoyed it.